It's great to see y'all. My name is John R. Cormanick. I am the head coach and CEO at John R. Cormanick Coaching. And today I'm here to talk about a particular part of mindset. As we know, mindset drives everything. Today, I'm going to be talking about performance versus mastery mindset and how this came about, why this presentation is today, and the difference between performance and mastery. Even as a litigator or an attorney who's involved in what is perceived to be a zero-sum game. And I'll give you some tips to adopting a mindset that serves you well. So let's dive right in. Mindset matters. That's what we're here to talk about today. Here's what we'll cover. 25 minutes. As always, 25 minutes. 10 slides. We're going to dive into understanding the orientations, the performance mindset orientation versus the mastery mindset orientation. We're going to compare the two. We're going to give some practical applications for attorneys, and we'll do some wrap up at the end. I'll tell you how to contact me if you have questions or if you want to explore working with me, or if you want to talk about the new book that's coming out. I won't talk about that too much today, but I planted that seed for y'all. So let's talk generally about the difference between performance and mastery orientation. And this came up because of, quite honestly, the Olympics. As I'm recording this, the Olympics, the 2024 Paris Olympics are going on. And as I sit and watch these world-class athletes, I can't help but wonder how they do it. Not how they train for the countless hours to perform at their very best, to peak on a certain day at a certain time on the track or in the pool or in the gym or on the balance beam. How they train to peak at that time, that is something that I'm very interested in. But this is more about how they deal with the fact that there's only one gold medal. That's it. To borrow a phrase from Ricky Bobby, if you have a performance orientation, if you ain't first, you're last, right? So that's why this talk came about. And that's why I'm doing it today. It's top of mind for me, and it may be top of mind for you. So let's talk about performance orientation. Performance orientation is outcome focused, right? We focus on the outcome of the event or the task or the thing. We believe that by demonstrating our abilities and competencies to get the outcome and the approval by others, that's how we win, right? So it's outcome focused. Did I win the race or did I not? Am I Ricky Bobby? If you ain't first, you're last. Or am I an Olympic athlete who has been interviewed after winning the silver medal? Do I get my validation from the podium, from the time, from the challenge, from the scoreboard? Do I get my motivation from there? If so, performance orientation includes a fear of failure. So having a performance orientation can, in fact, hold you back from performing because you won't take the risk. You won't take that next step. You won't stretch your box because you're afraid of failure. With a performance orientation, we avoid challenges because of the fact that it's the external validation, right? Avoiding challenges, that performance orientation really kind of goes back to our caveman and cavewoman days, right? Back then, if we did something and we challenged ourselves or our group and it came up short, we very well could be kicked out of the tribe. And back then, if we were kicked out of the tribe, we would die. We could not survive on our own. We do the same types of things today when we avoid challenges. It's because of those reasons and a whole bunch of others, psychologists and psychiatrists would tell you. But that's one of the reasons. And so, with a performance orientation, we avoid challenges because we want to win. And so, we set the bar lower. Well, what does winning mean? Well, winning for me means this in this situation. So, we just set the bar lower. We avoid the challenges, we avoid the stretch. And finally, a performance orientation has a fixed mindset. Now, a fixed mindset is I am who I am. I won't ever get any better. This is it for me. This is how I am. That's a fixed mindset. So, for performance orientation, outcome focused, we get validated from external sources. We fear failure. We avoid challenges, and we have a fixed mindset. I will never get better. I will never get to the podium. I will never stand on that top step. I will never beat this person who's beat me the last 4 times. I will never beat them, right? It's that thing. I will never beat opposing counsel. I will never win in front of this judge. I will never convince this arbitrator. And all that is based on past experience. I will never, right? Those are all performance orientation mindsets and attributes. Now let's talk about mastery orientation. If I could sum up mastery orientation, it would be to say that it's the focus on the journey. It's the focus on learning, on improving skills, on understanding, rather than just achieving a favorable outcome based on the scoreboard, right? It is process focus. We trust the process. We dive into the process. That is what a mastery orientation is about. It is intrinsically motivated. A mastery orientation, and you may have heard this on the Olympic coverage if you've been watching, and you're listening to it at this time, at the time that the Olympics are going on. But you may have heard the expression, it's me versus me, or it's you versus you, right? It's intrinsic motivation. I did better this time than the last. I improved in this aspect over the last time. I improved. It's that intrinsic motivation. I want to improve for me, to be the best I can be, to achieve my full potential, to make those crazy dreams, that immense vision come true. We're intrinsically motivated. We learn from failure. Instead of avoiding failure and fearing failure, we learn from it. And in fact, failure isn't failure to those with a master orientation, because there is always something to learn, always one nugget to take away from falling short of the goal that will help you in the future. Always, 100% of the time. That's why when I start each and every one of my coaching sessions, here's a little aside, a little peek behind the coaching curtain. Every single coaching session with me starts with 2 questions. One of which is, what have you learned about yourself since the last time we spoke? Because if we're not consistently learning about ourselves, even when we fall short, if we're not learning about ourselves, we're missing the whole point of why we're on the planet. So, a master orientation also includes embracing challenges. I want to try that, as opposed to I'm not going to do that. And that's because by embracing the challenge, we level up our intrinsic motivation, right? We satisfy that box. We check that box for intrinsic motivation, right? It doesn't matter. I had a conversation just the other day with a client, and we were talking about this concept of the mastery orientation. And we're both yogis. We both practice yoga. And so I brought up the crow. Actually, I brought up the yogi headstand, and my client brought up the crow pose. Like, oh yeah, 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 the crow pose. That is so hard. And we kind of chuckled about it. And we talked about how building on each small phase of the crow pose process will get you eventually to crow, the putting it all together. And as we were talking, I told them the story about how I was doing crow, or attempting, I won't say doing, I was attempting to do a crow pose at the yoga studio. And I got set up and I began it and I landed flat on my face. And my client was like, "Oh my gosh, I would have been so embarrassed. That's awful." And it shone, turned a light onto this very concept, this mastery orientation. So I said, "Was I embarrassed?" Yeah, I was, sure, a bit, right? We're in a public setting, we're trying a new thing, and it doesn't work. So was I embarrassed? Sure, a bit. And I took away from that, okay, what went wrong? What did I do right? How can I build on it the next time? So I embraced the challenge. I have yet to do a crow pose for any length of time. I have done it, but I've yet to do it for any length of time. So I'm still a work in progress, right? Master orientation are really works in progress. We view ourselves as works in progress. And we have a growth mindset, meaning that we believe that we can always get better. We can always change. We can always improve, right? This is the growth mindset, to borrow from a recent blog post that I did. The growth mindset is the no person ever steps in the same river twice, because it's not the same river and they're not the same person. It's that person. We are never the same person. I am a different person now than what I was when I began this presentation. You are a different person now than when you began watching or listening or consuming it, however you consume it. So that's the growth mindset. We always believe we can get better, always. Let's talk about some Olympians and how they view mastery versus performance. So, Michael Johnson, USA sprinter from back in the day, the best motivation always comes from within. It is you versus you, period, full stop. That's what it's about. That's what Michael Johnson thinks it's about. And who am I to argue with an Olympian? Right? That's not my thing. It ought not be your thing. Um, and to think that, well, he can have that because he's at such a level and I'm not and I can't, that's a fixed versus a growth mindset. So Michael Johnson says the best motivation always comes from within. That's that intrinsic motivation. The scoreboard is not the motivator. The you versus you is the motivator. How do I get better today for me than I have been in the past? So let's talk about mindset matters and performance versus mastery orientation. I do not want you to walk away believing that if you have a mastery mindset, you do not want to win. That's not it. That is not it. You cannot tell me that every single time an Olympian toes the line or steps on the blocks or faces the beam or the bars, that they don't want to win. They do, always, every time. They want to do their best and win. They want the gold. So don't think that having a mastery mindset means you don't care about winning. You do. It's where your focus is and where your motivation comes from. Outcome. If you're focused on the outcome, then you have a performance orientation. And if you don't win, you lose. You are Ricky Bobby. You're not first, you're last, right? That's the outcome orientation. If you're focused on the process, okay, I am going to execute in this way the best I can. And if the swimmer next to me has the swim of their lives and does better than I do and has a faster time, it doesn't mean that I've lost. It simply means on that day, someone was better than me, period. Right? So that's one key aspect. Another key aspect is that external versus internal validation. Where do I get my validation from? Where do I get that I feel good about myself from? Do I get it from the scoreboard? Do I get it only from winning? That's external. Do I get it from the fact that I did my damned best today? And I can walk off of the gym floor with a smile on my face because I know I did the best I could. That's internal validation. And that's a mastery orientation. External versus internal validation, outcome focus versus process focus. Those are the two differences. Olympic athletes, I'm going to go back to them, right? I've said this. This is a quote from Natalie Achkwan from Team Canada Basketball. I've said this over and over. It's never about the outcome. You might struggle with believing that from an Olympic athlete. Look, they're not just saying it to say it. And I will tell you that it's because they have that mindset. It's never about the outcome, that they are Olympic athletes, that they are elite, that they are among the very top of the people in their events, their sports, their fields, whatever it is. It's not because they're there that they have that attitude. It's they're there because they have that attitude, if that makes sense. And then Bonnie Blair, she was a speed skater from back in the day for USA speed skating. She said, winning doesn't always mean being first. Winning means you're doing better than you've ever done it before. That's what winning means to Olympic athletes. It's never about the outcome, and it's you versus you. You are better today than you were yesterday. Litigators. As most of you know, and if you don't, I'm going to tell you right now, I practiced law for 24 years. I owned and led a successful law firm for 16, and I was a trial attorney. I was a trial lawyer. And there's no bigger scoreboard than in trials, right? There's no bigger scoreboard, particularly in the area of criminal defense. I practiced criminal defense. I represented people accused ran the gamut from DUI to death penalty work. That's the work that I did. And I can tell you, if I had a performance orientation, I would have been number one, miserable. Number two, terrible at my job. Number three, I probably would not have served the people that I wanted to serve the most, which were those accused, the accused, right? Because I don't know if you know this, but criminal defense lawyers lose a lot. They lose a lot, right? The state, the government has all these resources. They don't bring cases that they don't believe they can win. Cases that go to trial are really tough, right? There's all these things that factor into it. And so, if I had a performance orientation, or if any of you out there who happen to practice criminal defense have a performance orientation and it's all about the scoreboard, you're not likely to last a very long time. You're not likely to be happy. and you're certainly not likely to be a good leader. I will say that. So, as a criminal defense attorney, you must have a mastery mindset. As a litigator, you must have a mastery mindset. And it goes to all transactional lawyers, it goes to everyone in the space, right? So, here how litigators can embrace the mastery mindset. Here's how lawyers in general, but litigators in particular, and any of you out there who happen to be watching this, you don't necessarily have to be a lawyer. Embrace continuous learning. I always learn from the things that I have done, which requires an after action review. Some people call it a postmortem. It's an after action review. How did I do? Why did I do it that way? How did it go? What went well? What didn't go well? How can I learn and build moving forward? Focus on skill development. Last time I did this skill, whether it's arguing an evidentiary motion, objecting, presenting audio visuals, using technology in the courtroom, whatever it is, focus on continuous skill development. Set personal growth goals. I want to, at the end of this witness, I want to have done X. Or I want to learn this skill. I want to learn to leverage technology in a meaningful way that grabs the attention of the jury and promotes my case, right? Set those personal growth goals. Embrace challenges and risks. Take those difficult cases. Don't shy away from the difficult. Those clients need you. So embrace those challenges and those risks. Cultivate a growth mindset. You must have a growth mindset. What am I learning? How am I getting better? I know I can become better. And finally, become anti-fragile. What do I mean by that? The highs are not super high. The lows are not super low. I counsel clients all the time about this. Shrink the amplitude of your highs and lows. Become more of a steady state, a bit high, a bit low. It's okay. And when you do that, your trajectory constantly moves up. So those are the 5 ways for litigators and all of you actually to embrace the mastery mindset. Embrace continuous learning, focus on skill development, set personal growth goals, embrace challenges and risks, cultivate a growth mindset, and become anti-fragile. That's it. We've got less than 2 minutes left. We're coming in for a landing. If you want to learn more about how coaching with me can empower you to achieve your goals using a mastery mindset, ping me. You can send me a message on LinkedIn. You can message me on YouTube where this video will be posted. You can message me through my website. You can actually schedule a time to speak with me on my website at www.johnorcormanick.com. You can schedule that 30 minutes discovery session. I'd love to have a conversation with you. This stuff is awesome. This stuff is a game changer. And this stuff is why Olympic athletes are Olympic athletes. It's why they are elite. It comes first. Having a mastery mindset comes first. Great seeing you. Look forward to talking with you again soon. Be well.